Kia ora, my name is Anna-Maree Thomas. I play Jessica in Evil Dead Rise, and you are watching Pop Culture with Pat.
Hey guys, welcome back to Pop Culture with Pat. So today I am super excited because I am talking to my special guest. We are talking all things Evil Dead Rise today. I'm talking to Anna-Maree Thomas. She plays Jessica on Evil Dead Rise. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me. It's awesome to meet you.
Yes, great to meet you as well. I'm so excited to talk to you about, all thing Evil Dead Rise. Got to see it opening night. It was one of my most anticipated horror films of the year and absolutely loved it. So, congratulations first off on the success because I saw that it did, better than what they're actually expecting box
Mm.
office wise. So, congratulations on the success of the film.
Thank you so much. It's amazing you got to see it on opening night. You're one of the first.
Yes, yep. Oh yeah. Any of the big movies that I'm really looking forward to, I always make it a point to go out, that
Mm,
opening night to see it. Now, before
great.
we jump into all things Evil Dead, I actually wanted to ask you just, what or when did you first fall in love with movies?
Oh, that's such a good question. I distinctly remember when I was at school, we call it primary school in New Zealand, which I actually don't know what that translates for you.
Elementary school.
Elementary school. It was an elementary school. Um, we watched a film. You may have heard of it. It's called Titanic. I don't know why we were watching this when I was that young, but we were watching it in class, and it was just the most like the most amazing film I'd ever seen, and to this day is my favorite film. And there was just something about Titanic. I don't know what it was, but it just created this obsession for me, and in the history of it and also in the actual sort of filmmaking of it. I was obsessed, and I'd Google all the Titanic facts, and I wanted to know everything about that set. And it was like a really distinctive moment in my childhood when I went, I want to be on film sets. Like that is what I need to do, and I have to be able to do this.
So that's I was actually gonna, follow up and say, what was like the inspiration behind you getting into acting? So it was really watching Titanic. That's what kind of jump started
Mm.
things. And then how did you actually, I guess, get started in acting itself?
I went to drama school, so I finished sort of like all my education. So I went through high school, and then I started auditioning for drama schools. I was from like a really small town in New Zealand, so it was quite a big deal for me to try and pursue an acting career, and to go to like a big city. That was a huge deal for me. It was like going overseas, even though it's within New Zealand. So yeah, I auditioned and I got into drama school at the age of 17, and I moved to Auckland, which is where I sort of am now based. And yeah, I trained as an actor. I was really lucky to get an agent in my third year of drama school, and just started auditioning, and just building my body of work here in New Zealand.
And now you're here, starring in Evil Dead Rise, which
Yes.
what a crazy movie. So I have to before we
Yeah.
get into the Evil Dead Rise part, what is your relationship with the world of horror movies just in general?
You know, that's such a funny one because I do not like horror films. Yeah, I know. That's controversial. I'm going to get cancelled for saying that. But they terrify me. I'm a bit of a scaredy cat. Like I couldn't sleep in the dark as a kid, and I was a real scaredy cat. Um, so I watched all of the Evil Dead movies in
Okay.
preparation for this, which were terrifying. Um, yeah, it just never resonated with me. So I asked myself a lot of questions in prep for this, like why does horror exist? Like what does it exist for? What's the appeal to it? Why are we making horror? Because I'd never worked on one. All my previous work had been drama. So I sort of had to really evaluate my relationship with it and be like, okay, well, what's the purpose in doing this? Because for me personally, I don't like being scared. Like it means I can't sleep for a week.
Yeah, no. So, and it's funny because and that's why I wanted to ask you that too, because you actually hear there's a good amount of people that go into horror movies and they might not be big horror movie fans. They get,
Hmm.
scared easily or things like that. So it's always just like funny to hear how they kind of, got into it. Now, out of
Mm.
the Evil Dead films, watching them, which one I guess was like the scariest, or which one was like your favorite out of the bunch?
2013
The
with
13.
the oh man, the whole film.
That
Yeah.
one was brutal. So that is one of the few movies that I've seen in a movie theater where
Mm.
someone actually, a girl got up. There was only about 10 minutes left. She got up and left, and she was like, I can't take it anymore, and left the theater. It was right at
Wow.
I didn't know at the time, but there was only 10 minutes because it was the part when it started raining blood.
Raining blood.
Yeah. She was like, I can't take it anymore, and left. And it was just like this. So it just makes that
Mm.
that movie going experience so memorable because it's like you don't see that happen too often.
No,
So
no,
what
it must. Yeah, it must be really freaky if you are to physically go up and leave a movie. I also feel like the worst was over by that point.
yeah. 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 I was like, you literally, if you would have just stayed 10 more minutes, you would have saw the whole thing. But
Yeah.
so I mean, so for you, for someone who's not a big like fan, what a way to
Mm.
make your first movie in the genre as an Evil Dead film, which just has such like a history and is
Yeah.
like little did you know what I think you were signing up for like at the time when you
Yeah.
got the role.
No, I absolutely didn't. Like Evil Dead has filmed in New Zealand for years. It's been like a really big part of our film industry. So everybody knows Evil Dead here who is in the industry, but we sort of associate it with Ash vs Evil Dead, the TV show, which filmed here for many years. And so this was quite interesting because Ash sort of sits in its own world, and it can be quite comical at times.
Yeah.
And so that was also part of it, is going like, what's the tone of this? Like, where are we going? And I have to admit, when I watched the trailer, it was so much scarier than I thought it would be. When I was making it, I actually didn't realize, and that just goes to show the power of the editor.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Mm.
So talk to me about actually getting cast in the film. Just what was that like? Because I feel like, like we've talked about, Evil Dead is not just your typical everyday, horror film. So what was the
Mhm.
process of getting cast in the movie?
I was cast by my wonderful friend who is a casting director here called Stu Turner, who is he's actually an Emmy nominated casting director now for his work on Sweet Tooth.
Oh wow.
He's phenomenal. He's amazing. So he got us in for the first round of initial auditions for Lily's character. Um, and I was on hold for her for quite a long time, which is kind of like not unusual when they're sort of doing a location shoot to have um, local talent um, in case they couldn't secure Lily. So I was on hold for Beth for a wee while, and then was released and didn't really hear much from it, and saw that I had started filming, and then the role of Jessica came up as a recast, which you may or may not know. It was actually already cast, and it was during COVID times, which proved extremely challenging to get cast into the border. New Zealand had some of the toughest restrictions in the world,
Yeah.
and Jessica had to end up being recast. So so Stu, who I've had like a really wonderful relationship throughout the years, he's cast me in a lot of stuff. He got me in for the recast, and I don't know why, he sort of just uh I was the only one he got in from New Zealand, and we worked that audition for a couple of hours, and then we went back that afternoon and worked it again, and he was super determined to get some more Kiwis on this project. He's quite patriotic, which is awesome. So we worked it like, I don't think I've ever worked that hard for an audition. We just did it over and over and over, and we sent it to the producers, and then yeah, I was really lucky enough to get cast and to come on to the set and fill the shoes of Jessica.
Yeah, no, and hey, I mean, all that hard work, it paid off, getting that
Yeah.
role. So what was your reaction when you found out you were going to be playing a Deadite?
Well, I remember the audition when it was initially doing the rounds because all my friends auditioned for Jessica, and I helped her prep the role. And the audition scene had her like speaking in tongues, and I was like, "Wow, that's a hard audition!" Like, wow, because it's really hard to learn when it's not in the mannerisms you would speak in. And I was like, "Gosh, that's really strange. It's really intense." And then I saw, the recast come through, and was like, "Okay, I need to go and prep this audition right now because these lines are going to be crazy to learn." And like was kind of figuring out what I actually sort of had to distinguish Jessica and the Deadite as two different characters because they are.
Oh yeah.
And so I actually ended up loving playing Deadite Jessica. I nicknamed her bitch tits. Yeah, and how do we process at the start of being like, what does she represent, and how can I sort of find meaning when playing this sort of character? And had some big conversations with my acting coach around that, and ended up just loving playing her because she's very powerful. And like anytime, so what my the main thing that got me into her character was the teeth,
Yeah.
the teeth cast that they made. As soon as those teeth were in, oh, like she was there.
Whole different person. So yeah, so
Yeah.
what was like, you were kind of like, I guess, like talking about it a little bit, but just like what was the overall experience playing a Deadite? And then can you talk about the transformation process of actually being
Mm.
transformed into the Deadite?
It was a really big process. So it took about 4 hours in the makeup chair to get into Jessica Deadite. It was sort of like prosthetics for one, but also it was a full body paint, which was done by hand. And so it took ages to get into her, and then also to get out and to try and scrub everything off. So it took a lot of time to in the makeup chair and that process, but was so helpful in me finding her. And the more that kind of came on, the more I sort of was able to embody her and become her and find different things with her. But it was pretty tedious, like the stuff that she does, the stunts in particular, in the opening scene coming out of the lake. It was full on. I actually fainted in the makeup chair that morning.
Oh,
Um,
geez.
yeah, and I think I'd been standing for quite a while doing the body paint and just ended up going down, and then went to set and did that stunt where they essentially teabagged me
Oh,
in. Like,
oh my
so
gosh.
it was a really tough shoot, but like the best. I love doing that sort of work where you feel like you've really worked for it
Yeah,
instead of
no.
like, yeah, rocking up and like having a coffee and sitting and waiting to film. Like, that was when we were really working extremely hard, and like thankfully our hard work really paid off in creating an epic opening scene.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, you
Mm.
guys, the work was amazing. That opening scene, like one of my favorite openings for a horror movie in like recent memory. So, did
Cool.
you, as far as like the inspiration wise, did you look at anything or watch anything in particular as far as preparing to play the Deadite?
Only sort of what I could gather from the previous Evil Deads. A little. I also was really influenced by the work Alyssa was doing because they had already filmed a lot of her stuff. So we came in for our stuff near the end of the shoot. So Alyssa had already really embodied and become her Jedi, and so watching her and um, sort of gave me a little bit of inspiration as to sort of how she moved and how she talked and the world of it. But also I was really determined to find Jessica's elements and bring that to the Deadite version because Jessica is quite a different character.
Yeah.
So but yeah, a lot of it just came from the opportunity to play and be creative and see what I could find myself.
Yeah, no, and I mean, yeah, you definitely want to make it like your own, but I think that's helpful that you got to kind of see, Alyssa's like performance ahead
Mm.
of time, like before going into yours. So, all right, so Anna-Maree, as far as the couple scenes that we obviously have to talk about, filming wise, the lake like being one of them. But can you talk about filming the scalping scene? Definitely one of those moments that makes makes you cringe watching it in the theater.
Yeah.
So, like, what went into that?
The scalping scene was something that we had talked and talked and talked about. Like it was sort of, it was one of the biggest builds that hair and makeup and prosthetics had to do for Mirabai, because they sort of like obviously had to put that on her head and rig it. But by the time we actually got to filming it, it was the end of the day and we didn't have much time. Um, I think we got that in one shot.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, we got that in, I'm sure we got that in one take. So we had filmed all of the cabin sort of stuff that day, and we were getting to the end of our shoot day. And we had one shot at it because of the amount of time it would take to reset. We'd never practiced it before. And so we were just like, okay, let's go, let's do it. And let's hope we can get it on one take. And we did, but you can see like the blood sort of came and hit my face and things like that. But so there were a few mistakes, but the edit just worked so well with it. So that was amazing. That was so cool that we were able to do that, because there was so much lead up to it, and then to have the pressure to get it perfect in that one take. Whew.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a lot of pressure to get something
Mm-hmm.
like, I mean, to get any scene like in one take, but to get
Yeah,
something like that. But yeah,
which
I
is
mean,
so pivotal.
seeing it on the big screen again, that came out great. So you guys did a great job with that. The other scene, we kind of mentioned it already, but
Mm.
when you're on the dock and then you go into the water and rise up, which was such a badass scene. So just what
Mm.
went into filming that whole sequence?
It was a lot of work with the stunts team, who were just incredible. They're the team that were working on Avatar as well, so they're hugely experienced, especially with water. Um, and so we went out to that location a day early and just did a full day of rehearsal, for the stunt. And I had a lovely stunt double called Greta, who sort of shared that load with me, and she sort of tested the whole rig before I did it. And in the lead up to that, myself and Richard, who plays Caleb, did a lot of water training with the stunties, just sort of learning a lot of breath hold work, because essentially, because she rises up and out of the water, we have to start underneath the water. So sort of getting comfortable, being submerged, and being under there, and then on the rig being sort of lifted up and out, and making it obviously look like I'm not in a harness or a
Yeah.
wetsuit or anything like that. So a lot of rehearsal, sort of like ironing out the kinks, and when we got to do it on the day, it was seamless. Like we couldn't have asked for it to work better.
Now, had you done anything on this level as far as like a stunt work or anything like that? It was kind of like
No,
your first time.
yeah, it was my first time doing that sort of those sort of stunts. First time in a harness on the rig. I've worked in water before. Somehow I always get cast as characters who end up in lakes. And so I'd worked in water, which is always tough going because it's cold. And it's just again and again, but it's really is part of the job. Like it's not a glamorous job at all. And I think probably Lily and Alyssa could attest to that too, considering the
Oh,
amount of blood they constantly had. Like they were always sticky and wet and cold and uncomfortable. Um, so yeah, it was epic though. Like I had a moment when I was up on the rig, and I looked around at the crew below me, and I like looked around to this like beautiful like farm that we were filming on, and in the bush and this lake, and I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever done.
oh yeah, I can imagine the view from there must have been,
Oh,
gorgeous. So
it was epic, and to just be suspended up in the air
just looking
like
down at
that,
everybody.
just chilling. Oh, it was incredible.
Now, did you, when you guys were filming this, because I know a lot of times, whether it's, TV, film, sometimes you can film like out of sequence. Did you not
Mm,
only that you would open the film, but you would also end up closing the film as well, like
yeah,
ahead of time?
yeah.
You did?
Yeah, I did know that. And that's, I think, why there was quite a lot of sort of casting pressure around Jessica, because even though, it is a small part of the film, it is also the opening of the film and the ending of the film. So there was like quite a lot of importance in casting the right people for it, and making that work. So yeah, I did know that.
So that, I mean, because you got to see the finished film like already, right?
Yes, I saw
Okay.
it earlier in the week on Monday.
So, I mean, getting to see yourself, watching it with an audience, getting to see the film
Mm,
open up, you see yourself and see the end. I mean, not too many people get to say they have the opening and the ending of a film like that. So that's pretty
yeah,
cool.
it is a huge privilege and an honor to be part of this. Like it is insane.
Now, so I mean, the Evil Dead films, they're known for their creative use of objects as different weapons.
Yeah.
What would be your weapon of choice if you had to take on a Deadite?
Ooh, that's a good question. And to be honest, something I've never thought about before in my life.
Yeah, I
um,
wouldn't think so.
weapon of choice. I'm looking around my room looking for inspiration or like what I would usually have. I feel like I would be a runner. If I was approached by Dead, I would not fight. I would flee,
Get it
like
out
and
of there.
hide. I would get out of there.
I
If
mean,
I
I don't
had to
blame you.
fight, probably this like
Uh,
these Frank like everyone's obsessed with them in New Zealand. Frank Green drink bottles. They're like these massive drink bottles,
yeah, it's
and
like
they are like blank
clank
them
him
on the
upside the
head.
head. There you go. I was
Mind
gonna
you,
say, would you go like the classic route of, like getting like a chainsaw or something like that? Obviously that's like the popular weapon, or a shotgun, a boomstick.
shotgun and chainsaw, I don't think would go very well for me personally, considering I've never used one before. I think like in the movies it's great because you get rehearsal. In real life, you don't really get rehearsal with it.
Yeah,
Yeah, no. I think my Frank Green drink bottle would do the trick.
there you go. But I always think, when in doubt, if you're just get out of there, just get out of there as fast as you can.
Yes, flee. Absolutely. I'm not fighting. No way. See you, everybody.
Now, so what does it take to make an Evil Dead film for someone, for a lot of people who haven't made one of these movies? It's a
Mm.
lot that goes into filming these things. What does it take to film one of these?
Takes a very, very, very hardworking crew. And it takes, I think, a sort of grit and
Oh yeah.
and an attitude of being up for anything. And just an ability to just completely immerse yourself into it and have no fear and just go 100%. If you hold back even for a moment, it's I don't think it sells. It definitely requires a commitment, like unlike anything else I've had to do before.
Yeah, you just gotta put yourself like all in there.
You
And
do,
I
you
imagine,
have
like,
to.
even though it's a lot of hard work, I imagine though it's definitely got to be a lot of fun just to do all of this, this stuff as
So
well.
much fun. Yeah, I don't think I've ever had so much fun on a film set before.
So you're part of a film series now that's been around since the early 80s and is beloved by fans. It's definitely one of the most like popular horror franchises, I would say, in history. What does it mean to be a part of the Evil Dead legacy for you now?
It's just like freaking awesome. Like it is just so cool to have had that experience and to be on the other side because filming is really different to when the completed film. They're two different experiences in themselves. And to have that and like the footage we got from that and to know the stories as to how we ended up getting that footage and to see it come into the world and the effect it's had on people, it is it's pretty groovy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I
Mm.
see what you did there. Yeah, I mean the franchise, it's beloved, and it sounds like
Yeah,
hopefully we should be getting some more, and hopefully this time it won't be
yeah,
another like 10 years until we get like a new film. It
yeah.
seems like we should be getting some more very soon. But yeah, I mean
I hope so.
you're part of this franchise now that it's going to be these, I mean, these films, they're going to get revisited by fans, just over the years and years and stuff like
Mm.
that. So I mean that's pretty cool to be part of that movie history.
Oh, absolutely. It is such a privilege. Like it's one of the coolest things that's ever happened to me for sure.
Is there anything else that you would like to say to the fans to wrap things up? And then where can fans kind of follow, your work for updates on future projects?
Ooh, I'm sort of most active on Instagram if they want to follow my work and my life in New Zealand and what I get up to. And in terms of a message, just like thank you for the support. Like it's really incredible to see how much this means to people. And to see how they're responding to it, and it definitely like makes all of those sort of massive days so worth it. And in particular for Lee, who put his heart and soul into writing, directing, editing this film, to see that come to fruition is amazing. So like, thank you for all the love and the support. Like it's been so lovely to receive, and I'm so grateful for it.
And what's is for as far as like Instagram goes, is it just your
Mhm.
name as far as like your handle?
Yeah, if you can spell my name right, got two E's, no I. Yeah, it's just Anna-Maree Thomas.
Perfect. Well, thank you again, Anna-Maree. I appreciate you, coming on here, taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you're super busy, so it was a privilege to get to talk to you, get to know you a little bit, and just, talk about all things Evil Dead and your film career up to this point. So thank you again so much for coming on here, and you're welcome back anytime in the future.
Oh, thank you, Pat. I really appreciate you having me. Kia ora, my name is Anna-Maree Thomas. I play Jessica in Evil Dead Rise, and you are watching Pop Culture with Pat.